Let's get into it today. A clarity rally, uncertainty is underway. I'm going to break it down with you. Evan's going to be joining me here in a minute. We're going to chart a whole bunch of tokens. You don't want to miss it. Let's just get started. I do want to thank our sponsor, and that is OKX. This is where you guys can get faster, better, stronger than your average crypto exchange. All you have to do is use our link down below. It's going to get you into OKX. Trade like a pro, man, and get going every step of the way right now. And this is available, fully available in the US now. So check it out. OKX, we have a whole slew of benefits just by using our link to get started. So let's get into it today. I've got the first topic I want to hit on, and that, of course, is a clip here of Tucker Carlson and Mr. Wonderful talking about crypto, of all things. Take a look.
Now you're coming into my space. I'm an indexer for sovereign wealth. The only reason 52 cents of every dollar comes to America is the transparency of our laws. So you may hate the SEC, you may not like, regulations, but in fact, it gives an infrastructure where most capital comes here. It's a balance. That's why we trust the government. A lot of people don't like them. We say, look, at the end of the day, the great example that we could use that you both know, I don't think crypto is going to work until they pass the bill about crypto. They got to finish this infrastructure act so that finally crypto can find its place inside of the 11 sectors of our economy. No one's going to, I'm not investing in crypto until they get that friggin' thing through the house.
All right, so there you have. Welcome to the show, Mr. Evan Aldo. All right, Evan, you saw that clip. Where do you stand right now in clarity?
Yeah, I mean, your guess, I think in a few months, potentially, end of summer is my guess, maybe July, August. And it would segue, if we do see a correction, it would segue to kind of a buy the rumor if it is officially passed. If we get some, bearish price action, which I think potentially over next month, 2 months, and that could potentially mark a bottom, especially for some altcoins on their Bitcoin pairs. I think it may be good for alts, especially.
Well, listen, we're looking at Bitcoin below 79 right now. You've got that along with this right here, which is the volatility that we're probably going to see. So is this a sell the news event? If you go in and chart Bitcoin right now, I know you have some positions, of where you think the perfect entry is. Where would you stand right now on Bitcoin?
Yeah, so the biggest thing on Bitcoin we got to realize is you have your daily 200 SMA right here, which is just a major, major point. We kind of have been rejecting from it so far. When you look at the way money flow is going, it looks like price wants to reject and potentially come back to 72K. And in a second, I'll tell you why. Potentially, I think you could go down a bit further too, potentially over the next month, 2 months. It's seasonality, what we normally see, higher low double bottom situation.
Right.
But what would invalidate that and turn me a little bit more bullish, because there's always an invalidation. If you can break above this, hold like 83K, then we could start talking about super cycle 92K and all that. But right now, I would lean a little bit more bearish. The other thing that's huge is your 200 weekly SMA. And this is generally always where Bitcoin has bottomed historically. I mean, the last bear market got a little bit worse, but it was still deep value, when you hit it essentially. And I think you got a decent shot by the time we actually hit it, it may be 65K. In, let's say, June, July, August, maybe somewhere like this for a double bottom, higher low. And that's always what happens with Bitcoin. That's always how Bitcoin's bottom. So I think there's a high likelihood of that. If you look at some of these time frames, these higher time frames like your 6-day, the buyers are starting to look exhausted. Money flow is coming out. I think you need to have some type of healthy correction. Bitcoin is always known to have, 15, 20% corrections all the time. 65K would be a 20% correction. So that's what I would, make in my, yeah, that's what I would say is the most likely scenario.
So 65K would be a major correction. Obviously a great entry and maybe what could even happen after clarity. Do you think that is something that could happen if clarity drags on through the summer and we get maybe late July, or, there's even been, because remember, August is they're pretty much out. There's a little bit of time in September. I was talking to Adam Meinhardt the other day. He mentioned September. He's an analyst that's been on DC for a long time, so he knows kind of the timing here. I would disagree with that. What are your thoughts? I mean, where Bitcoin would be in June and July, do you think this is the window right now?
I think that if Yeah, I think that could mark the bottom. Let's say Bitcoin could be, it's a 20% correction, which is significant, but nothing insane, obviously. So I think a month to 2 months is easily where you could see that mid-July, and then you pass that clarity bill. This first breakthrough on the clarity bill, let's say that's more of a sell the news situation. And
Right.
then the next actual passage of the clarity bill is
Okay.
by the rumor, and that kind of marks your bottom potentially. I don't know, July, August, September is possible. I think August would be, people would still remember it when they go into the voting booth if you pass it in August. If
Good
you passed
point.
it tomorrow, yeah, maybe a little early.
All right, listen, I want to go over to some of the macro side of things. I've got a clip here of President Trump talking about Americans' financial situation. Listen to this one.
Do you agree with the president's position that Americans' financial situations should not be a consideration in that decision-making process?
Well, I don't think the president said that. I think that's a misrepresentation of what the president said.
I don't think about Americans' financial situation. I don't think about anybody.
Well, yeah, he's talking about defense, basically, is what he's getting into if you continue on that clip. But his point is sometimes he just says the most off the wall stuff. I'm just like, they're going to clip this and they're going to go hard against you especially in the midterms on this, because this is a problem right now. Americans' financial situation is dire. We're seeing inflation rising, all of this happening right now. Not a good look right now for the administration, for sure. Next question I want to hit on right quickly is Chair Powell. He's gone. Today is his last day. Do you think we'll get a rate cut this year at all?
It's going to be tough, Paul. I think you need to see a significant, you need to see the S&P 500 come down, 3 to 6% at least. You need to see the NASDAQ come down. You need to see a little bit more uncertainty, and that would hopefully bring yields down. And then maybe, just maybe, you could eke out 1 to 2 rate cuts later in this year. But inflation's hot right now. So as of right now, it's not looking too good.
I want to go to a clip real quick, Evan, because this, of course, is Tom Lee, and he's talking about this. Take a look.
This is still going to be a very tricky year because we have a new Fed chair coming in. The market's going to test that Fed chair. But once we get through that subsequent turbulence, we are probably entering, an 18 to 24-month period that might be one of the best we've ever seen in our life.
All right, so he's talking about some turbulence. How long do you think this turbulence could last?
Couple months, potentially into, probably just a few months, just the end of summer. And then I think you'll see a little bit of rebound, potentially into midterms, which is normally kind of what you see. So, yeah, I'm not overly concerned. I think that ETH right now, just talking about Tom Lee, ETH versus Bitcoin is breaking down right here, as you can see on my chart. And that's where it gets a little bit, more concerning. So I converted my ETH for now over to Bitcoin and MicroStrategy, and I'm waiting for some momentum. I want to see more upward action, something like that. And then I hope, if you got here, that's a better evaluation to get into ETH, over Bitcoin. So that's what I'm looking at. The other thing too, you're on some thin, if you look at BMNR versus Bitcoin, you're breaking down as well. And you lost those lows from July of 2025. So right now I'm out of BMNR, but I'll be glad to get back in if we see, some more momentum, see something like this happen.
Well, this is probably what Tom Lee's talking about. All right, Evan, now that you're talking about Ethereum, let's go ahead and look at the chart. Where do you stand? Let's get a price point for you this summer. How far down do you think this could correct?
So Ethereum, looking a little bit more bearish, just like Bitcoin right now. Obviously, I was talking about a 20% drop for Bitcoin. ETH is already dropping, it's been dropping more. So kind of from where we are right now, we're at like, 2,200 about, 20% would be 15 to 20% would be 1,900. You do have a major trend line right around 2,000. So the Hail Mary here would be, hopefully you get a jump here and you start to outperform Bitcoin and you do well there. But if, I'm okay with 1,900. I think if you lose 1,900, that's where it gets scarier because you're losing like major trend lines, major momentum here from, a long time ago. And this is just losing momentum if you're, going all the way down to like 16 or 1,500. If I had to guess here, what would happen, I think you got a decent shot of actually surprising a lot of people. And I'll bet on Tom Lee a little bit here. Maybe you jump off of 2,000 and then you start to outperform Bitcoin. So
Okay.
I think a lot of people are probably going to get in towards the end of the summer. Let's say Clarity Acts. People get in towards the end of the summer when Clarity Act passes, maybe around 2200, maybe around 2000. That could be huge. That could definitely be huge. That's what I'm looking for.
All right, so that's a good point for Ethereum. I want to play a clip from Gareth because he had a shocking stat that he showed that I think makes a lot of interesting debate here. Let's go to it.
We're getting way beyond the ridiculousness of this. Now, what's interesting about this is it's coming on the back of the Trump-Xi summit, where really nothing got done, at least as of now. And so believe it or not, it's not expected that China is going to actually buy these chips. Now, the whole reason for the last few-day rally was that China was going to be granted the ability to buy, and it was assumed that there would be a deal to buy X amount. There was not. Really, there's no major trade deals here. There's no movement on Iran. Oil is spiking today. Check this one out. Never before has the market been making new all-time highs while the breadth has been so negative. In fact, almost 10% of the S&P 500 has been making new 52-week lows while the markets are making all-time highs. Think about that.
What if you look at the SPX right now, how do you feel this thing is performing? Do you think this is going to continue to see some all-time highs after a retracement?
So I think if you're Trump right now, you want your SPX to go down just a little bit over the next few months, bring inflation down, bring your interest rates down. You went up looking, does this look very healthy to you? I mean, it looks like you need some type of correction. I would argue that if you lose 740 on your SPY right here, you likely would go down to around 713, which is a very likely seasonal, kind of correction, 5%. Maybe even 7%. This is a huge area back here. And what do you need to bring inflation down? What do you need to bring some interest rates down so you get a cut or two? You probably need to come down to 700 again. So I could see something like this potentially happening over the next few months. I don't know if it's going to be this much down, but you definitely could see a correction. NASDAQ as well, potentially coming back to maybe 668, around here. You want some type of correction, get people a little bit scared, get your yields down a little bit, and then just maybe you can get a rate cut by the end of the year.
All right, we covered ETH. I want to get into MicroStrategy. Michael Saylor's strategy is estimated to have bought 13,000 Bitcoin today via Stretch. We've talked about Stretch before. It's a 30x on the amount of daily Bitcoin mined. So obviously supply side's going to get intriguing here. MicroStrategy, how would you play this one?
So I sold a couple cash secured puts yesterday, strike price around 150, I think, and expiration like 6 weeks from now or something like that, 5-6 weeks. I think in all likelihood, gapped our size here. It's good, for obviously the macro, but you're going to need some type of correction. If Bitcoin comes down, 20%, this likely comes down probably a little bit more. I think the big area, big line in the sand is 150. I don't think you would lose 150 if I had a guess here. I don't think you'd lose 150. I think you'll see that drop down to 150 and then into kind of end of year or, later summer, end of year, you come back up to here. And then potentially by end of year, I could see 230, maybe, something like that. So yeah, I think you're gonna see a healthy correction and then recover.
All right, so this is big news. Whales are not selling their XRP. Wallets holding at least 10 million XRP now control 45.8 billion tokens worth of roughly about 68.5 billion total. This is the largest whale balance since 2018. So XRP is standing strong here in terms of the community. Where would you put XRP in June if Bitcoin is falling below 70K?
This could hold up pretty well. Cautious optimism. It looks better than most things right now, Paul. I mean,
really?
I think,
okay.
Yeah, I mean, I think you'll probably come back to 130. I could see a double bottom, maybe 120, something like this, just like Bitcoin. But you might be able to hold 130. This thing's kind of in its own orbit sometimes. And if you look at XRP versus Bitcoin, it's been up in the last, week. So
yeah,
I don't know. Some people would probably be fading this rally. It is rejecting. We'll have to see what happens. But as long as you could kind of hold, these lows on your Bitcoin evaluation, there's some potential. This looks a lot better than pretty much every other alt right now, in my opinion, or at least major alt. So.
There it is, king of alts right now in terms of performance-wise on XRP. Let's move over to Solana. Solana right now has a bit of an edge over Ethereum, especially in DEX trading. You look at this, and after I went to the Solana Accelerate, I was surprisingly optimistic about what I saw there in terms of the builders, just, you know, the way that they, I think we're attracting good talent in terms of growth. And maybe this is why we're seeing a lot of new projects roll out on Sol. Where do you think this thing slipped under 90 after popping up there? Where do you think this goes in June?
Yeah, I think it's probably going to head back to somewhere between 80 to 73 or something, 80 to 73, kind of this range down here, the same range you've been in. I mean, it is a pretty elongated accumulation phase, time-based capitulation, crab market, you know, that type of situation. I think from there, you'll probably get more of a bounce towards the end of the year. And end of year target, you could get up to 120 by end of year. So
sub 80 is a buy. Okay.
Yeah, or if you when you see more momentum against Bitcoin, because what's happening, this looks worse than XRP on Bitcoin. It jumped up a little bit, but now it's you know maybe rolling over, maybe what ETH is kind of been doing. So we definitely got to keep an eye here, eye on this. You know, Solana versus Bitcoin. Not enough momentum yet for me to want to buy Sol over Bitcoin,
okay,
but maybe that'll change.
Well, I understand it. You guys know what to do. Evan Aldo's program, you guys can get crypto trading, market cipher tutorials, all kind of cool stuff over there. Check it out, Evan Aldo over on YouTube. Evan, thanks for coming in today, man.
Always a pleasure, Paul. It was an honor.
All right. If you like this video, hit like and subscribe, drop a comment down below, and also join our free private member group. The link is in the description.